This is the 100-120 class. I'm going to do some extension practice. All right, we'll begin with a question. For the record, please state your full name.
Matthew Robert Anderson.
What do you do for a living?
I am a crime scene detective for the Fairfax County Police Department.
How long have you been with the Fairfax County Police Department?
I was hired in 1987 as a cadet and then have been an officer since 1989.
How long have you been a crime scene detective?
Since 1998.
Do you have a specific title for as a crime scene detective?
I am known as a crime scene detective for the police department.
If I could draw your attention to Government's Exhibit 3, if you could look at that. Do you have Government's Exhibit 3 in front of you?
Yes, I do.
What is that?
That is basically a resume of all my training and experience.
Is that relating to being a crime scene detective?
Yes, it is.
What are some of your duties as a crime scene detective?
My main duties are to respond to major crimes, suspicious deaths, accidental deaths within Fairfax County. Once there, to document those scenes through notes, photography, sketches, as well as locate evidence, identify evidence, collect it, preserve it, process it for latent fingerprints, and then maintain the chain of custody, the packaging of it, and evidence that needs to be further examined by a laboratory to submit it to the laboratory.
Have you reviewed any specialized training in crime scene investigations?
Yes, I have.
And just generally, can you highlight some of the training that you have received from your resume on Exhibit 3?
My training basically started from the base academy in fingerprinting and those types of the basics of it. As a patrol officer, I was selected to go to Metropolitan DC to their crime scene search school, which was 3 weeks. From there, I was selected into our crime scene section. I had several months of on-the-job training, and then I went to the Virginia Forensic Science Academy, which is a 9-week intensified school taught by the state lab in Virginia, taught by their scientists and by crime scene instructors.
What types of things were you instructed in that course?
Those courses cover everything from the basic photography of the scene, note-taking, diagramming, as well as the evidence collection. Best evidence, how to collect it, how to package it, how to submit it for analysis, as well as fingerprinting techniques, chain of custody issues, and everything from basic blood stain pattern analysis, shooting reconstructions, buried bodies. Basically, the whole aspect of everything that they could possibly think of to throw at you and get you involved in processing and handling crime scenes.
If I could draw your attention to page 6 of your CV, do you have that in front of you?
Yes, I do.
Under major crime scene investigations, what types of crimes did you include in the major investigations?
Major investigations, homicides, probably up over 20 homicide investigations that I have been the lead detective in, and I assisted in numerous other ones in the 10 years that I have been up in the crime scene section, as well as doing police-related shootings involving officer shootings, whether it was a Fairfax County officer involved or some other officer that has come into Fairfax County. And I have testified in federal and local courts involving those types of cases.
Is it approximately 55 trials? Is that still accurate?
Yes,
Are you a member of any organizations relating to crime scene investigations?
yes. I am a member of the IAI, which is the International Association of Identification, as well as a member of the Forensic Alumni, the Virginia Forensic Academy Alumni Association.
Have you ever testified as an expert in court, as a crime scene investigation expert,
As
an expert witness?
yes, I have.
In what case?
It was actually in this courthouse. It was as a shooting reconstruction expert involving a murder trial.
Have you also testified as an expert in Fairfax County Circuit Court?
Not that I am aware of.
On page 6,
That was my mistake. I believe that wasn't in this courthouse. It was in Fairfax County Court.
that was in Fairfax County.
Fairfax County Court.
As a crime scene detective, how are you assigned cases to investigate?
Cases are based in our section. There is basically an assignment or schedule set up to where you work. You have certain people that are on call for after hours. There are several of us in the office. There are 10 of us in the office. 8 would be on a normal schedule. 2 would be the on-call people. And on-call people would handle calls that came in after hours. The other 8 would handle calls that come in during the normal daytime or normal business hours.
On the types of cases you are called out to investigate, is one detective designated sort of as the lead detective on a crime scene?
Yes,
Does that just depend on the rotation?
it depends on the rotation and how the teams work. With 8 people, the people are divided. It is 2-person teams. So there is always a primary and a backup. And if it is a major call, then the primary is usually the person that would take the lead, and the backup would be the assistant.
Were you on duty in the early morning hours of December 2 of the year 2007?
I was on call that night, yes.
Did you receive a call?
Yes, I did.
Why did you get a call?
They called me for a shooting that had happened at Springfield Mall.
Were you designated to be the lead crime scene detective on that case?
Yes, I was.
Do you recall approximately what time you received the call?
It was between 2:20 and 2:25 a.m.
Did you respond to the Springfield Mall parking lot?
Yes, I did.
What time was that?
I arrived a little after 3 in the morning.
And is Springfield Mall in Fairfax County?
Yes, it is.
Is that in the Eastern District of Virginia?
Yes, it is.
When you arrived at the scene, what did you observe?
I arrived at the scene There was a large area that was roped off, several police cars there. And within the roped off area there were two vehicles. One was closer to the, I guess they call it ring road, but it's the road that's inside the parking lot that separates the inner parking lot from the outer parking lot. On the inner parking lot, there was a vehicle. There was a vehicle laying in front of the vehicle, and then several orange traffic cones in front of the vehicle. And then several spaces further down there was a second vehicle that was inside the cordoned off area.
How was the area you say cordoned off? How was that done?
Yellow crime scene tape was up, and then there some police cars on the outside basically securing the scene. Some officers standing there making sure no one was coming and going into the scene.
When you first arrived at the scene, did you seek out another officer that was there?
Yes, I did.
At that point, did you become the lead crime scene detective on that scene?
Yes, sir.
Were you able to see the body of the victim?
Yes.
Where was the victim's body?
It was approximately 5 parking spaces in from the Ring Road area between the Target or the entrance 3 side of Springfield Mall. And it was in front of a small Toyota pickup truck.
When you describe the victim, was he laying down?
He was laying on his back. His feet were toward the vehicle. His head was, from standing on Ring Road, outside the perimeter of the scene itself. His head was to my left, which was toward the food court. With the left side of his body was facing across the parking lot toward the Target store, the entrance number 3.
Was he dead when you arrived?
Yes.
When did you notice? Did you notice anything initially about once you viewed the body? Anything around the body that drew your attention?
Well, the orange traffic cones, once I got up there, I could see that there were several cartridge casings laying within the inner perimeter of those orange cones.
What are cartridge casings?
Cartridge casings are the casing that holds the entire cartridge for more or less a bullet. The cartridge is the bullet itself, the lead projectile. The cartridge casing, which encompasses that which holds onto the bullet, as well as the primer and the powder that is inside that ignites to propel the bullet out of the gun. The cartridge is what is left over. The cartridge casing is what is left over after the bullet has been fired.
Where were these cartridge casings in relation to the victim's body?
It was his vehicle, the body, and then the cartridge casings were all above him, above his head and toward the left.
Based on finding the cartridge casings in the specific location, did that tend to focus your investigation on a certain area?
Yes, it did.
Why is that?
Because the cartridge casings, once I was able to take a look at them, coming from a semi-automatic weapon, which ejects the cartridge casing each time it is fired and brings up another round to be fired, they were all within a small area, a general area. And between where the cartridge casings were and the decedent and the vehicle, that was pretty much my scene. Anything going off that direction, that was the only evidence that I could find. It was altogether per se when you look at the fact that you are talking about a large parking lot.
The cartridge casings are ejected from the firearm,
Yes,
so they were in a certain area. What did that tell you based on your experience in terms of looking for firearm or other clues about where a potential shooter may have been?
well, the shooter would have had to have been in proximity, very close proximity, standing right next to where these cartridge casings are landing, because as you are firing, the gun is kicking them out of the weapon and they are landing on the ground. So the gun would have to have been fired in close proximity to where they are landing or they are falling to the ground.
Did you take photographs of the crime scene that night?
Yes, I did.
If I could ask you to look at government's exhibits 4 through 4X as an x-ray.
Okay,
Have you looked through all of those?
yes,
Are those all photographs that you took that night?
yes, they are.
Are they all fair and accurate depictions of the crime scene as you found it that night?
Yes.
If I